Hello, and welcome everyone. I'm Whitney Brewster, the Executive Director of the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles and Chair of the AAMVA Board of Directors. It is my pleasure to call the 2020 Annual Membership Meeting of the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators to order. But before we begin, I'd like to invite Diane Graham from AAMVA to walk us through some housekeeping items for using the GoToWebinar tool. Diane?
Thank you, Whitney. Good afternoon and welcome to the AAMVA Annual Membership Meeting. Before we get started, let's review the controls. This webinar uses telephone or computer audio and all attendees are muted by default. For our voting delegates, if you're using your telephone, please be sure you have entered your PIN. It can be found in the audio tab of your webinar control panel. To enter the PIN now, type #, PIN number, # on your telephone keypad. We will not be conducting a verbal roll call. Please use the hand-raising function in the control panel to help AAMVA verify your attendance and to ask any questions. We will also enable your audio controls so you will be able to participate in the necessary voting. When you want to speak or vote, please double-check that you are unmuted on your end on both your phone and in the control panel. All other attendees will remain on mute throughout the meeting. As a final note, this meeting is being recorded. Thank you. Back to you, Whitney.
Thank you, Diane. And I want to thank IDEMIA for sponsoring today's membership meeting. Your continued support is a critical element in our ability to strengthen and sustain this type of member engagement during these unusual times. Thanks again to IDEMIA. And while we cannot gather in person, we're going to do what we can to recreate some of our most precious AAMVA traditions. So for our first order of business, we will take a moment for the Canadian and United States national anthems. In a moment, you'll see a new window automatically open on your screen with a video. You can then adjust the size of that window on your own. Also, the sound for this video will come through your computer speakers, not the phone. So make sure your computer volume is turned up. And if everyone can just please double check that their phones are muted to avoid feedback, we will go ahead with the anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was
you very much. Clearly, you recognize at least one of these singers. And if you're thinking the others look like me as well, you're not wrong. I'm fortunate to have some very talented family members who are willing to join me in making that recording. I want to thank my sisters, Madison, Morgan, and Mackenzie, and especially the youngest of our singers, my daughter, Elle Marie. It's one small way that I hope to make you feel part of our Texas family for our time together today. As you all know, AAMVA has a proud tradition of making a contribution to the local community as part of our annual conference. And though we can't hold any of our traditional fundraising events like an auction, a teddy bear contest, or a tricycle race, I am still asking for your help in supporting the Coalition to Combat Human Trafficking-Texas. The Coalition is a nonprofit that partners with organizations and individuals to fight for human dignity along the border and all across the state of Texas. They work passionately to bring awareness, education, and victim assistance, those services to help combat both labor and sex trafficking. So please consider donating online at the Coalition's website. If you do make a contribution, please take note that after you indicate the amount of your gift, the next screen allows you to enter additional information. So please indicate AAMVA in the Given on Behalf of text box. This will allow us to track the donations. And I thank you so much in advance for your generosity. So now we will go ahead and move on with the membership meeting. I'll ask Chrissy Nizer, the administrator of the Maryland Department of Transportation Motor Vehicle Administration and secretary of the AAMVA board, to conduct roll call. Chrissy?
Well, thank you, Whitney, and good afternoon, everyone. All jurisdictions were previously asked to submit the name of the individual serving as their official voting representative for this meeting. Voting delegates should ensure that they've entered their audio PIN. If you've not done so, your PIN is shown in the webinar control panel. Please enter it by typing $, PIN number, and then $sign again. At this time, I'd like to ask the AAMVA team to report on the number of voting delegates and other individuals who have logged on.
Madam Secretary, there are currently 49 jurisdiction voting representatives logged into the meeting. Additionally, in total, we have 231 individuals made up of jurisdiction members, associate members, and other guests. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Madam Chair, I'm pleased to report that we do have a quorum. In addition to our jurisdiction members in attendance, I really want to thank our associate members, our federal and local government partners, and our international guests for joining us today. Your continued engagement with AAMVA is much appreciated, even more so today as we continue to navigate through these unprecedented times. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Chrissy. One of the traditions we missed this summer with no in-person conferences were our series of award luncheons. And that, however, has not stopped us from being able to recognize the extraordinary work being done by AAMVA members. The 2020 awards program has continued, and you can learn all about the winners by visiting the AAMVA YouTube channel today and watching a series of videos. Also, the AAMVA website has a comprehensive listing of the impressive work being done throughout the membership.
Welcome to the
Among the recognitions we present each year are the awards for lifetime achievement in highway safety. And I want to highlight that our lifetime achievement honoree in the motor vehicle category is Karen Grimm. And she recently retired from the Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles. And our law enforcement category winner is Commissioner Warren Stanley of the California Highway Patrol. You can learn more about both of our honorees and their incredible achievements and hear their acceptance remarks in the International Awards video. Last year, as your incoming board chair, I urge you to stay involved because the strength and the success of this association lies in the engagement of you, its members. And of course, nobody knew at the time how different engagement will look in 2020. It has been a year of remarkable change and agility. That has been so critical to the continuity of our operations. Also a year ago, I planned to spend my time as your chair balancing my Texas DMV priorities with the travel and member engagement that typically go along with the role. And while the travel has not occurred for all the obvious reasons, these unprecedented times have not deterred AAMVA from what it is so good at, innovative solutions that make a difference. I am particularly proud that in the past 6 months, we've continued to sustain the expected level of member support in core program areas through our working groups, best practices and IT services, while at the same time pivoting to support our members' needs, socially distanced. From unraveling more than a dozen meetings and conferences to introducing new calls and webinars that have kept us connected and rolling out online resources focused on the pandemic response, this association has done our best to adapt as needed to support the members. And we've also stayed engaged in key policy areas. We've collaborated closely with Congress, the Department of Homeland Security, and the National Governors Association on the modernization of Real ID. We solidified our relationship with Inlet and matured important discussions over how driver data is accessed. We've created a renewed focus on identifying unsafe drivers and removing their driving privileges in a timely manner by examining our driver license compact and what a 21st century solution might look like. And we are keeping our community on the leading edge of emerging issues in multiple areas, not the least being an update to our automated vehicles best practice, a new e-titling working group, and exploring the role a shared infrastructure must play in supporting the ecosystem for mobile driver licenses. AAMVA remains a global leader in developing innovative solutions and a critical partner in shaping the policies to support our vision of safe drivers, safe vehicles, secure identities, and saving lives. This all hasn't been by accident. A tremendous amount of work has been done across the AAMVA community during this year. In fact, some might say that COVID-19 has not slowed AAMVA's progress a bit. I am so grateful for the hard work and agility of the AAMVA board, as well as our regional boards, our AAMVA staff, and our committees and working groups that have allowed the positive work of AAMVA to continue. Thank you so much. It has been a special experience to be the chair, and one of the absolute highlights of my tenure as chair has been the pleasure to work so closely with the AAMVA leadership, including our president and CEO, Ann Farrow. Ann?
Whitney, thank you. It is a pleasure to serve this, to be on this virtual podium with you. For sure, AAMVA has had a very productive year, and we are energized as an organization to continue to serve AAMVA, the community, at the same level and pace that we have come to know so well. So since our last annual meeting, as Whitney noted, we have issued a number of publications and kicked off some new communication tools too. I wanted to focus on just a few, as you'll see on the slides. We've issued interim guidance on managing data privacy and access, interim guidance on using third-party agents, and on imported vehicle policy. And the guidelines to help regulate internet vehicle sales have been published and were published earlier this year. All of this are very timely topics for today's digital service delivery. The team also moved quickly to work with our test maintenance subcommittee and IDEC to develop guidelines for safely testing license applicants from outside of the vehicle during the pandemic. The board-supported IT Strategic Roadmap Committee, I think we'll skip on to, has been very busy in supporting our IT team to press forward with migrating major applications like Navitas and state to state to the government cloud. Each of these actions improve the reliability and the capacity of AAMVA's IT services. As you can hear, all of this work is developed and influenced with members, by and for members. ensuring that the solutions meet you where your needs exist. AAMVA staff pivoted over the past few months to make sure the great content from our business meetings did not get lost in this kind of remote shuffle. They produced both a conference session series of webinars and new content through a weekly AAMVA podcast series. The conference session series has provided timely webinars by knowledgeable speakers, primarily from AAMVA's government and associate member experts, including some of our staff, and in most every case accompanied by helpful Q&A. Participation is averaging over 90 folks per session, and an added benefit of being virtual is that these webinars and AAMVAcasts are recorded, so you can watch them later, a continuous learning opportunity for you and your staff. I'm really glad in particular that Whitney called out our AAMVA Awards program. This year, we had over 230 applications. We had a very busy panel of judges, and we had a great opportunity to recognize all of the numerous ideas and innovations that members put forward. So when this meeting is over, you're going to get an email from us with links to our awards website. I encourage you to click on those links. I encourage you, whether you want to look at the website later, go to our AAMVA YouTube channel, to view the ideas that have been put into reality by your peers. In some cases, some of you that are on this call today. You don't need to reinvent the wheel when you have colleagues showing their innovations and more than happy to share how they did it. In particular, I want to encourage you to watch the international awards videos, which highlight Commissioner Stanley and Karen Grimm. The Commissioner's and Karen's awards for lifetime achievement and safety leadership speak to the many lives they've touched in their careers and the pathways they've built for so many of us who continue to strive along with them to save lives. Thank you, Commissioner. Thank you, Karen. We do wish we could applaud you in person, so please take it from several hundred folks who are on this call today. AAMVA is the strong and resourceful association you enjoy thanks to effective, dedicated governance by our volunteer leaders. The member-focused leadership that you see on today's annual meeting and have seen throughout the year has not lagged in this time of socially distanced work. Our board members, whose normal job of leading their own agencies is incredibly demanding, additionally commit to serve the interests of the AAMVA community. And when they finish their terms, they do so knowing there's continuity in strategic direction and sensitivity to members' needs. If the association has to change course and pivot as we did this year, we've got the leadership, the insight, the guidance, and the wisdom to help us do it well in a manner that meets the members' needs. And to all of you participating on today's call, I want to thank you. With your attendance, those of you, and particularly those of you who are voting delegates, the annual process we have of electing a new board and considering new policy happens. I may speak for myself, but I suspect it's a shared sensibility. We take the succession process of board members for granted when we're together in person. It's just part of the annual meeting. But your actions, and by taking the time to be on this video conference today, maintain the continuity in effective leadership that's essential for a quality organization. It enables us as your staff and your board to keep the focus on new ideas and new approaches to achieving the strategic priorities of AAMVA, the association. So for associations, for their members, for us within the AAMVA community and AAMVA, your organization, it's really important with each new year to evaluate the benefits of membership, and particularly in this pandemic space of being remote, being virtual. One has to say, wow, how is the organization working for me? Certainly you heard that from Whitney. But we also recognize that AAMVA's sweet spot has always been as a collaboration platform for you through the connectivity of our IT networks and applications, or in person at the annual international conference, regional meetings, the workshop, the Leadership Academy, or committees and working groups. I want to assure you this connectivity continues even while we are remote. And I'm also certain that our in-person events will return before long. But in the meantime, what's constant and valuable in your AAMVA membership is our ongoing commitment to finding new and better ways to serve you in your service to the public. So Whitney, I again want to thank you, congratulate you for a great year, and that wraps up my remarks.
Thank you, Anne. Now let's hear from Rick Holcomb, the Commissioner of the Virginia Department of Motor Vehicles and Treasurer, for our Treasurer's Report. Rick. I think you may be muted, Rick.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir, we can. Over to you.
Thank you. Obviously, it's been a pleasure to serve as the treasurer. Obviously, IT is not my forefront, so thank you. I'm pleased to report that even in the context of the current economic challenges, AAMVA remains a financially sound organization. As we approach the end of this fiscal year, which will be September 30th, AAMVA is forecast to have an operating loss of approximately $1.5 million. This is better than originally anticipated given the economic impacts of the pandemic. It's also consistent with the board's multi-year strategy to draw upon a modest amount of our financial reserves to augment annual operations. Despite what has been an eventful year in the stock market, AAMVA's investment portfolio has performed well during 2020 and continues to earn a return on our investments. During 2020, our Finance, Investment, and Audit Committee accomplished several key initiatives, including overseeing AAMVA's compliance activities with federal partners, rebuilding the contract for investment advisors, and updating several key policies and procedures. This is in addition to the continued oversight and guidance to the board in several years, including the financial statement audit, monthly financial reportings, and of course the FY 2020 budget. Speaking of the budget, last week the board of directors approved the fiscal year 2021 budget. This budget reflects a balance of managing reduced revenues that are a result of the pandemic while ensuring that we continue to provide a high level of customer service and value to our members. The budget recognizes the reality that travel and in-person meetings will not be viable for a period of time. The budget also provides resources for key priorities, including further improvement to the reliability of our network infrastructure that we all rely on every day in support for several of our growing IT services. In recognition of the financial challenges many of our members, probably all of our members, are facing, we've taken a series of actions to provide member relief, such as all member dues will be kept flat for fiscal year 2020, delaying what would have been a final year of a phased 3-year dues increase. That final increase will not happen until fiscal year 2022. For jurisdictions that pay the technology and program services fees, we will draw from investment reserves to provide a one-time fee reduction for 2021. Members will see this credit in their monthly invoice. And for the state-to-state participants, the State-to-State Governance Committee and Board voted to use reserve funds that states have contributed to reduce the per driver fee for fiscal year 2021. If there are additional ways that AAMVA can support members during these unusually hard times, I encourage you to contact me or any member of the board or the AAMVA team. Again, I want to thank Whitney for the trust that she's placed in me, and I've enjoyed my time as treasurer this year. I also want to thank our Chief Financial Officer, Wendy Sibling, and her wonderful team for the support that they've provided me, the board, and the Finance Committee. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Rick. Your leadership as our treasurer this year has been outstanding. I thank you so much for keeping our members at the forefront during some very financially difficult times. We really, really appreciate your leadership during this last year. Next, we have a proposed policy for member considerations. The text is on your screen for your review. The support for move over enforcement and education policy was sent to chief administrators in July and has since been reviewed and discussed at each of the 4 regional membership meetings. Having attended all 4 of those regional meetings, I can summarize by sharing that there were no concerns or questions about the policy in any of them. And in some, a number of members actually expressed their support and appreciation for the introduction of this policy. So at this time, I ask voting delegates to please take a moment to unmute your phones, and I'll wait a minute while you do so. I'd just like to give y'all a little bit of time to unmute your phones. As the board has already approved a policy for a membership vote, I would now entertain for a motion for formal adoption of the policy by the members. Is there a motion?
So moved, Whitney, New York.
Thank you, Terry. A motion by Terry from New York. Do I hear a second?
Whitney, this is Rhonda, second from Nebraska.
Thank you. A second for Rhonda from Nebraska. Thank you. Any discussion? Remember to use the hand raise function so staff can acknowledge you. Diane, do we have any hands raised?
We do have a couple of hands. Anna Simpler, I'm going to call on you first. If you can unmute your phone and ask your question.
Is there a question or comment?
Okay, we'll see if she's able to do that. James Fackler.
I put my hand down.
Thank you. Graham. Now we're getting Graham Minor. Do you have a question or a comment?
Sorry, I'll lower my hand. Sorry.
Thank you. Deanna, did you have a question or comment?
No, lowered my hand. Thank you.
Thank you. Robin Reboard, did you have a question or comment?
No, sorry, I just forgot to lower it earlier.
Okay, thank you. Whitney, there are no other jurisdiction member has a hand raised.
All right, thank you, Diane. So I think we'll go ahead and take the vote then. All those in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed, say nay. The motion carries and the policy is adopted. Thank you very much. As we all know, AAMVA takes seriously our role as a North American association. And to do this effectively, we have to have strong partners throughout the continent. I am thrilled to welcome our partners to the north from the Canadian Council of Motor Transport Administrators. Please welcome Doug McEwen, Registrar of Motor Vehicles in Prince Edward Island and Chair of CCMTA for some remarks. Doug?
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to address members of the AAMVA Annual General Meeting. It's a pleasure to be with you, virtually at least, and thank you to Ann and to Whitney Brewster, Chair of AAMVA, for including us in your busy agenda. And I have to say, Whitney, what a great job of the national anthems. Very, very classy, and thank you very much for that. It was quite enjoyable. Like AAMVA and other, CCMTA has had to shift the way we engage across our organization, and we appreciate being able to connect with you today. During this unprecedented time, CCMTA and its members continue to work to ensure the continued safe, efficient movement of goods and essential transportation workers within Canada and across the United States border. This keeps our supply chain strong and our citizens safe. We've supported our member jurisdictions by acting as a clearinghouse of timely information for jurisdictional members, industry stakeholders across Canada, and our U.S. counterparts. we work to facilitate collaboration and ensure alignment of member responses to the extent possible, such that essential services are maintained. Engaging with members and stakeholders such as AAMVA to identify transportation issues and solutions in a timely manner. In addition to adjusting to the impacts of COVID-19, the organization has also been focused on ongoing work, including but not limited to updating CCMTA's strategic plan post-2020, identifying new strategies to support better data sharing in general, but with a priority to commercial motor vehicle safety, supporting technology options in order to enhance citizen-centered service through validation of credentials. The day-to-day work of our committees, including examining medical standards, impacts to service standards, the implementation of the National Safety Code updating processes, road safety data collection and reporting, just to name a few. So in closing, on behalf of the board, I want to thank AAMVA. We truly value our relationship and we are grateful for its ongoing collaboration. Our relationship has been a critical component in how we've been able to be responsive to the needs of our members during this time. So thank you, Whitney, and a special thank you to Ann as well, because we've had a lot of conference calls over these past few months. So again, we certainly appreciate our relationship with AAMVA. Thank you again.
Thank you, Doug, for taking the time to be with us today, and thank you so much for your partnership. Just as CCMTA is an invaluable partner to the North, we are equally fortunate to have a long-standing connection to our South, particularly with the Federal Motor Carrier Transportation, SCT, which is Mexico's equivalent of the U.S. Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. I am pleased to welcome their General Director, Salomon El Necave, and the Chief of the Office of the General Director, Marta De La Rosa.
Muchas gracias, Whitney. Muy buenas tardes. Me da muchísimo gusto estar con ustedes el día de hoy. Es para mí un placer acompañarlos en esta importante reunión.
Thank you, Whitney. Good afternoon, you all. It's a pleasure for me to be here with you today.
Antes que nada, deseo agradecer a la Asociación Americana de Administradores de Vehículos Motorizados, a su presidenta y CEO, Ann Ferro, así como a Whitney Brewster, directora ejecutiva del Departamento de Vehículos Motorizados de Texas y presidenta de la Junta de AAMVA, por habernos invitado a participar en esta Asamblea Anual General 2020.
First, I would like to thank the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, its president and CEO, Ann Ferro, and Whitney Brewster, Executive Director of the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles and Chair of the AAMVA Board of Directors, for inviting us to participate in this 2020 annual membership meeting.
Para nosotros es un gusto, un placer tener la oportunidad de formar parte de la comunidad internacional del autotransporte.
We're pleased to have the opportunity to be a part of the international transportation community.
Y para la Secretaría de Comunicaciones y Transportes de México, esta distinción significa tener un lugar en ella orientado al desarrollo de las mejores prácticas y a la seguridad en el autotransporte.
And for the Ministry of Communications and Transportation of Mexico, this distinction means having a place in it, oriented towards the development of best practices and of motor transport safety.
Además, también deseo reconocer públicamente el apoyo tan valioso que la asociación ha dado a la Dirección General de Autotransporte Federal, en particular en el desarrollo de nuestro proyecto de la licencia digital de conductor.
Furthermore, I also wish to publicly acknowledge the valuable support that the association has given to the General Directorate of Federal Motor Transport, in particular in the development of its digital license project.
En estas semanas, la AAMVA nos ha compartido sus avances y conocimientos en este tema a través de los trabajos que ha logrado en torno al tema de la Mobile Driver's License, que han logrado identificar aspectos relevantes de la seguridad, la interoperabilidad sistemas informáticos y el funcionamiento de la misma.
In these weeks, the AAMVA has shared with us its progress and knowledge in this subject through the work it has achieved on the mobile driver's license, which has managed to identify relevant aspects in terms of security, interoperability, computer systems, and its operation.
Prueba de ello es la invitación reciente que la ANVA hizo a diversos funcionarios de la Dirección General de Autotransporte Federal para participar en su webinar sobre este tema.
Proof of it is the recent invitation from the AAMVA to various officials from the General Directorate of Federal Motor Transportation to participate in its webinar on the subject.
Finalmente, solo me resta desearles que los trabajos virtuales de esta Asamblea General Anual 2020 sean fructíferos y reflejen los esfuerzos y alcances de la ANVA en beneficio del autotransporte, la investigación, principalmente la seguridad en América del Norte.
Finally, it only remains for me to wish the virtual works of this 2020 annual membership meeting are fruitful and reflect the efforts and scope of the AAMVA for the benefit of motor transport, research, and safety and security in North America.
Muchas felicidades y mis mejores deseos de éxito. Enhorabuena y muchísimas gracias. Buenas tardes.
Congratulations. I know this event is going to be a great success. Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you so much, Senor Elnicave, for joining us. We look forward to expanding our discussions on these shared topics. Thank you so much for being with us today. Just a reminder to our delegates who are online, if you could please make sure to mute your telephone so we can ensure everyone hears our speakers. That would be great. Moving beyond North America, AAMVA's leadership on the global stage has become more pronounced the past few years in large part due to our work in vehicle automation and mobile driver's license. Our next speaker has been one of the driving forces behind international collaboration. The Association of European Vehicle and Driver Registration Authorities, or EREG, is for all intents and purposes the European version of AAMVA. It is my pleasure to welcome from the Netherlands, Survey Beckers, the Director of Corporate Strategy and External Development and member of the Management Board at RDW and the Chairman of the EREG Association. Survey?
Hello, thank you, Whitney.
Hello, the floor is yours.
Thank you. Good evening, or actually good afternoon, I understand. Good morning for you even, maybe. I'm still not used to these time differences in global video meetings. In COVID times, it should be used by now, but I'm not. Thank you for inviting me. I'm very happy to be virtually present in your meeting in these challenging times. Although I am, of course, very sad that we cannot meet each other live in Austin. But if this is already a disappointment for me, how big of a disappointment must it be for all of you? From the media, I understand that the US suffers severely from COVID-19 and that it has an enormous impact on people and their families, whether they are direct victims of COVID-19 or hit by the consequences of the pandemic in a social or economic way. I truly hope you're all okay, and if you are a victim, I offer you my deepest sympathy. Of course, COVID-19 is everywhere in the world, also in Europe. The impact is different in every European country, and so were the actions. We had to adapt rapidly, and nobody was prepared for the enormous pressure on the hospitals and the high death rates. And in our work as well, we had to adapt too. We had to find answers to questions such as, how many people can be in one car safely? Or how can we help enterprises to remain in business in a lockdown situation? For example, by keeping import-export processes in the air. But actually also very internal questions like how long can we pay the wages of our employees as our revenue streams are drying up because of a society that has come to a total standstill? I guess you recognize the picture. In EREDGE, we reached out to each other to learn how our organization coped with these questions. And even though every local context was different, it was inspiring and educational to learn about all the challenges colleague organizations had to cope with and the measures they were taking. But like always, there's two sides to every coin. I experienced that there was an enormous pressure to find alternatives to stay in contact. Creativity was tested, digital communication boosted. What we, up until then, were unable to accomplish is now actually happening. Almost everyone is able to work from home by using digital video tools, like we're doing now. And funny enough, it increased the context we have in the EREDGE network, but actually also with you across the ocean. Ian Grossman, for example, gave a very well-received interactive presentation in one of our webinars, something that could be arranged in a very short notice just because he didn't have to travel. And this brings me to a personal observation regarding the relationship between AAMVA and EREDGE over the last year. Looking back, I think being part of the AIC and OMA was the tipping point. It was there I felt we changed from being good and respected colleagues into friends. And it shows, because there were more contacts between our organizations than ever before. Not only Ian's presentation that I mentioned, and of course our mutual involvement in mobile driving life, but also contacts with Vivian Cameron with questions from our side that were answered swiftly, and the other way around. Or questions from Mr. Robert Bales from the DMV of South Carolina about a European company starting in South Carolina to deliver food at home with small electrical vehicles. We were very happy that we could help. Or the signing of a declaration of intent for cooperation between RDW and the DMV of California. That was actually supported by EREDGE based on the relationship with AAMVA and the helpful support of Bernard Soriano. I personally hope that our relationship will develop even further. It's always very inspiring to talk to colleagues that have similar responsibilities and face the same challenges. So let us continue on that road. Like you, we have to organize a smaller digital meeting for EREDGE and EUCARIS instead of the big annual meeting that we planned in The Hague in the Netherlands last spring. But thinking positive, I think this just gives us extra time to prepare for an even better and bigger event next year. I truly hope that we will be able to meet in 2021 in real life, either in the States or in Europe, and celebrate our friendship. And Whitney, now that I know you can sing so beautiful, I promise you I'll bring over my guitar and we'll sing a duet. Thank you very much again for inviting me and for your attention. And I wish you all good health and a very fruitful meeting. And thank you again for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Survi. I know you had been planning to host the International Summit this year, and we are looking forward to the day when we can make that a reality again. I'd love to take you up on that duet. Thank you, Survi.
Will do. Thank you very much.
It's important to remember that AAMVA is first and foremost a community. Now please welcome Christina Boardman, the administrator of the Wisconsin Division of Motor Vehicles and member at large on the AAMVA board, to help us honor those who are no longer with us. Christina.
Thank you, Whitney. Just as we would if we were gathered in person, we'd like to take a moment now to remember 3 individuals whose contributions to AAMVA have left a lasting mark. Retired AAMVA staff member and friend, Mike Calvin, passed away on November 9th, 2019. Mike worked for AAMVA from 1987 until his retirement in 2015. For almost 30 years, he served AAMVA in multiple capacities, including as Director and Vice President of Driver Services, Senior Vice President of Program Services, Deputy Chief Executive Officer, and several times as Acting President and CEO for AAMVA. Mike was instrumental in the creation of many key driver programs we rely on every day, including the International Driver Examiner Program, the CDL program, and the ISO committee that was responsible for the first ever international standards for the driver's license. Through these efforts and other highway safety programs, Mike was able to build and strengthen working relationships among motor vehicle administrators around the globe. We are especially reminded of this earlier as our guest from Mexico joined us. After all, it was Mike who was the driving force behind building that bridge and opening that collaboration. He left AAMVA a legacy of strong driver safety programs and productive relationships with federal, jurisdictional, and non-governmental organization partners. Mike was also a mentor, friend, and counselor to many in the AAMVA community. He is deeply missed. On April 7th, we lost Robert Rowland, who was with the Massachusetts Registry of Motor Vehicles for 28 years, where he most recently served as their CDL coordinator. He was an alumni of AAMVA's Leadership Academy, and he served on multiple working groups and committees, including the SIDLIS Working Group, for which he was vice chair, and the Motor Carrier Working Group, for which he was chair. He actively provided insights on an array of topics, including CDLs and motor carriers, Real ID, and autonomous vehicles. Lastly, and most recently on August 14th, the AAMVA community lost Vic Andelin. Vic had been a beloved member of the AAMVA community for more than 30 years before his retirement in 2017. Vic was an active and recognizable industry partner. As an associate member recognized for his expertise, he served as an industry advisor to the Driver License and Control Committee, the D20, the E-Government Working Group, and the Standards Working Group. He was always willing to participate in our beta testing of projects such as our database and web access development. And more important, those who knew him best will remember him as a sweet, friendly, and dependable friend. We know many of our jurisdiction agencies and associate member organizations have suffered losses, including our law enforcement brothers and sisters who have paid the ultimate sacrifice to protect our highways and communities. Those we remember today made a great impact on all of us. In their memory, let us take a moment of silence to remember all those we have lost.
Thank you, Christina. Now I'd like to welcome Eric Jorgensen, the Director of the Arizona Department of Transportation Motor Vehicle Division, AAMVA Region 4 President, member of the International Board, and Chair of the Nominating Committee, to present the Nominating Committee report. Eric?
Thank you, Whitney. It was my pleasure to serve as chair of this year's nominating committee, and I'd like to recognize and thank my colleagues who served on the committee with me. Bud Craddock from Rhode Island, Boyd Dickerson Walden from Florida, and Peter Lacey from Indiana. At this time, it's my privilege to present the slate of nominees to serve on the AAMVA Board of Directors. I'd like to ask each of the nominees to turn on their cameras as I call their names so that we can all put a face with their name. Gabrielle Robinson of the District of Columbia for a 3-year term to expire in 2023. Tori Jessup of North Carolina for a 3-year term to expire in 2023. Terry Coombs of Illinois for a 1-year term to expire in 2021. Peter Lacey of Indiana for a 2-year term to expire in 2022. Charlie Norman of Ohio for a 3-year term to expire in 2023, and Alberto Gonzalez of Idaho for a 3-year term to expire in 2023. In addition, Roger Grove of Alberta as the Canadian Jurisdiction Representative for a 2-year term to expire in 2022, and Chief John Batiste of Washington for a 3-year term as Law Enforcement Representative to expire in 2023. It is also my pleasure to present the following nominations of persons to serve on the Executive Committee of the Board. Spencer Moore of Georgia for a one-year term as rotating regional member at large to expire in 2021. Christina Boardman of Wisconsin for a one-year term as secretary to expire in 2021. Christine Neiser of Maryland for a one-year term as vice chair to expire in 2021. And Michael Dixon of Colorado for a one-year term as chair to expire in 2021. The committee also notes that upon the swearing in of the new chair, current chair Whitney Brewster will automatically assume the role of immediate past chair for a one-year term to expire in 2021. Lastly, upon election, the following appointments are scheduled to be made by the incoming chair of the board, Michael Dixon. Richard Holcomb of Virginia for a one-year term as treasurer to expire in 2021, and Paul Cooney as parliamentarian for a one-year term to expire in 2021. This concludes the report of the nominating committee.
Thank you, Eric. We are pleased to receive your report. And at this time, I'll ask all voting delegates to unmute their phones or computers in preparation for the discussion and the vote. The Nominations Committee has presented its nominations for the various positions to be filled by election of the AAMVA member jurisdictions at this meeting. Is there any discussion, or are there additional nominations from the floor? Again, voting delegates should use the hand raise function, and AAMVA staff will assist in recognizing you. Any discussion or any additional nominations from the floor?
Whitney, I'm going to check one more time. Jana Simpler, you have your hand raised. Do you have a question or comment?
No, I've lowered my hand. Thank you.
Thank you. James Fackler, do you have a question or comment? We're going to be taking a voice vote. So if you have a question or comment, please raise your hand. And if not, we'll take a voice vote. That's it, Whitney. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Diane. So hearing no discussion or additional nominations, is there a motion that nominations be closed and the persons nominated by the nominating committee be elected? Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll make that motion. Eric from Arizona.
All right, motion by Eric from Arizona. Is there a second?
René Delille from Quebec.
All right, a second from Quebec. Thank you. Is there any discussion on this motion? All right, hearing none, I suggest that we proceed to vote on the motion to close the nominations and elect the persons nominated. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, please signify by saying nay. All right, the motion passes and the persons nominated are elected. Congratulations to the new board members who will be sworn in shortly. You can all turn your cameras off until then. As we get ready to welcome our new AAMVA board members, let's take a moment to recognize the members who are leaving the board. Please turn your camera on as I call your names, please. Sue Fulton from New Jersey, who has served since 2018. Kevin Schwedo from South Carolina, who has served since 2017. Unfortunately, Kevin could not join us today due to a previous engagement. Jane Schrank from South Dakota, who has also served since 2017. And Tom McClellan from Oregon, who has served since 2014, including serving a term as our treasurer. And of course, our immediate past chair of the board, Rhonda Lamb from Nebraska, who served on the board since 2015. Thank you for all of your time, your effort, your dedication to the AAMVA Board of Directors and the entire AAMVA membership. We are so grateful for your service. And please, we know you'll stay in touch. Please do. You're part of this community. Now you are off the hook and you can turn your cameras off too. All right. So every year, the chair gets the privilege to present the Chair's Award of Excellence to recognize someone for their extraordinary contributions to our community. Over the years, we've seen a diverse selection, including the likes of Betty Sirian, Chrissy Nizer, Philippe Guillot, and many others. This year, I've selected someone who could have just as understandably been the first recipient decades ago of this award. They are part of the fabric of AAMVA, not only as long as I've been a member, but I suspect for as long as any of you on this meeting have been involved. You've heard me speak throughout the year about how it is through our engagement with each other that we find the most value in our association. And it is through our gatherings, both in person and like this one today, that AAMVA enables us to build and sustain this incredible network of colleagues. And this is one of the reasons for my choice for the award this year. She has no idea that I've chosen her, which, believe me, was a harder secret to keep than you would imagine, because every year she is the one who would be coordinating the award for the chair. So let me tell you a little more about someone we all know and love, AAMVA's Diane Graham. For 41 years, Diane has been a part of the AAMVA team. While we all have come to know her extraordinary work in the membership and conference area, that is not the full extent of her AAMVA story. After working a short stint at NHTSA, Diane joined AAMVA as a computer programmer, working in the early days of the NDR. In fact, Diane was one of the first female employees AAMVA hired in a professional full-time position. In a time where it was not as mainstream to be a working mom, Diane was a single mom juggling the demands of raising 2 boys and contributing to the growth of AAMVA. Throughout the years, she worked in various parts of the organization, from motor carrier services to human resources to finally finding her home in membership and conference services. When you hear her talk about those days, you get a deeper understanding of the journey of what was once a small, traditional association to the innovative, professional organization we know today. On more than one occasion, the previous AAMVA CEOs would come up to her desk and task her with the unexpected, whether it was, "Hey, Diane, do you know anything about health insurance? Well, I need you to pick a new plan for us." Or more fatefully, "Hey, Diane, you've been to our annual conference, right? Well, good, you're in charge of it now." She always said yes, and she always tackled the challenge. In the years that followed, she was the driving force behind supporting the growth and modernization of our member meetings. And she always retains that can-do attitude and is still willing to pitch in and do whatever is needed at any time. Diane has served AAMVA since 1979, dedicating her strong voice, her determination, and unparalleled work ethic, an unwavering commitment to make this organization a better place for us, its members. And what some of you may or may not know is that this AIC in Austin would have been her last. Diane will be retiring in March. Not only is 41 years more than anyone can ask for, it is time for her to spend more time with what is really most important to her, which is her family. Her 2 sons, who many in AAMVA have watched grow up. Her 2 daughter-in-laws, who she is so very proud of, and most important of all, her grandchildren. The granddaughter who is the light of her life, and a second one who is on the way. So, in recognition of 41 years at AAMVA, her dedication, her friendships, and her legacy of contributions, I am honored to present the 2020 Chair's Award of Excellence to the one, the only, Diane Graham. Diane, my only regret is that we cannot be together to give you the standing ovation that you so very much deserve. So please turn on your camera, and I would love to give you a moment to say a few words. Diane?
For the first time ever, Whitney, I don't know that I have any words. There are so many things that Ian doesn't tell me. I guess this is one of them. I can't thank you enough for this. It's a tremendous honor. Certainly not something I ever expected. It is I who have been blessed by being at AAMVA. I have loved every moment of it. I will miss it tremendously. But yes, it's time to spend more time with those that I love most. And I am looking forward to that. It's been a tremendous journey. I was quite young, as you know, and still sort of young. But it's been a tremendous journey, and I could not have asked more out of my working life than I have received from the company I love so much. The people, the staff members, those I know that are on the call, thank you all so much for holding me up, for making me part of a great team, and certainly our jurisdiction and associate members and other industry partners. I couldn't ask for better relationships. I couldn't ask for better assistance in difficult times and in the best of times. So, Whitney, I'm deeply, deeply honored. I'm sorry I can't be in Austin with you. I wanted to be there so badly. We will see each other again, and I'll get my hug then, I hope. But thank you so much. I'm truly blessed.
Virtual hugs to you, Diane. You are so loved by this community. It is an understatement to say you are the fabric of this community. You have held us all together for so long. Thank you so much. Anne, I'll now turn the time over to you.
Whitney, thank you. I think I'm going to keep you on the line. What a great choice. I have to tell you, the reviews are coming in as Diane was speaking. It was like, kudos, best choice ever. Yay for Diane. Diane, hugs from all of us. We are so happy. You made me weepy watching you. I will say Diane was one of the first staff people that called me when I was selected for this role. And she said, Anne, because we know each other from decades past, from my early time with the Maryland NVA. Want to meet for coffee and talk? And I've been grateful ever since to have those moments with Diane. So thank you, Madam Chair. That was awesome. So now we have a moment right before I turn the podium back to you to talk to you one last time as Whitney. What a great example of why you have been such a phenomenal chair. Your sensitivity, your empathy, everything you just presented is beyond compare. Your time in this role has been marked with the clarity of purpose, the openness to input, and the results in our response. And every one of those qualities combined with kind of just goodness and grace and laughter. We see it on the screen today. You bring a smile into the room, whether we're in person, whether we're online, and you consistently seek everyone's input in order to get to a solution. Your level of connectiveness and kind of high EQ are things to model and things that I continue to learn from. I cannot overstate how important your leadership has been to our success this year, Whitney. And as a small token of our appreciation, and believe me, this is a small token, I do want to present to you. Let's see, I think I've got to go that way. Take it, pick it up, pick it up, pick it up. I'm going to do it again. Whitney, congratulations. Whoops, got to come back through. There we go. It made it all the way to Austin. That was a phenomenal pickup there. And so before everybody, for a moment, before I really turn it over to you for one last time to share with us as chair, I'd like us all to take a look at a special message for you, for our chair. And to all of you, please check your computer volume and put your phones on mute. Enjoy.
It's been my engagement with AAMVA where I have gained the most critical knowledge to do my job better. When we stay involved, when we are present, we can focus on innovative solutions that truly make a difference to the people that we have the honor of serving.
Well, howdy, Whitney Brewster. Congratulations on completing a year as chair of the board of AAMVA. Your year as chair has been unusual indeed, and you have risen above every challenge that the year has thrown at you, certainly when it comes to AAMVA leadership. You've been a mentor to me, you've been a real guide and support for the organization, and a tremendous strategic leader for the AAMVA Board of Directors.
Hello, Whitney. Congratulations on a wonderful year. You did a great job during a very difficult time, the COVID-19 pandemic, and you're commended for all the great work that you did, and thanks for your leadership and working through that.
I wanted to take this opportunity to thank you for all of your support of my involvement in the AAMVA community starting all the way back in 2014. These opportunities have been invaluable learning experiences, created a great network of peers around the country, and led to lifelong friendships.
You were that calming presence, making sure all the jurisdictions were heard from, making sure that we were reaching out to each other and keeping each other in our thoughts and making sure we had what we needed, and that's all because of your leadership.
Your dedication to making continuous improvements to the industries that we regulate is inspiring, and it makes me happy to come to work each day.
The pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects it to change, the leader adjusts the sails. To say you've had to do some sail adjusting this past year as chair of the AAMVA board is an understatement. Not only have you kept the AAMVA boat afloat, but you've moved it forward in a very positive direction.
Your commitment to customer service and consumer protection are evidenced through your leadership and serve as a model for others.
I remember about 4 years ago, you and I had a great conversation where I encouraged you to seek the member-at-large board seat. I'm happy that you took that encouragement. I'm happy that you've moved through the ranks and ecstatic about the great job that you've done this year.
While this may end your reign as the current International Board Chair, there's no doubt that you will continue to be a valuable contributor to AAMVA for many years to come.
Thank you, Whitney, for all of the support and guidance you've provided to the AAMVA staff during this very unusual year. We really appreciate the leadership you've provided to us, to the members, and to the entire AAMVA community.
Since you took over at the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles, we have accomplished so much to improve the services we provide Texans.
AAMVA and its members have been very fortunate to have someone of your class and caliber leading the organization forward during these very challenging times.
I'm grateful to be able to work with such a principled and caring leader. I know AAMVA, just like TXD&V, is blessed by your leadership.
Whitney, I don't know anyone who looks better in primary colors than you. Blue, red, green, you name it, you are in it. So now the floor is yours.
Thank you. Wow. What a special and touching tribute. I'm so appreciative. You know, when thinking about what I would share with you, it's been hard to know really where to start. 2020 has been just such a wild ride. What my thoughts continuously gravitate back to is that I'm just incredibly grateful. You know, I was introduced to this community back in 2008 when I was the brand new DMV director for Alaska. I knew so little about the complexities of the work that we all do. And I received, I think I've told this story before, but I received a call from California DMV Director George Valverde inviting me to a conference. And I agreed to give this whole AAMVA thing a shot. You know what also happened in 2008? The Real ID Act. And with that, the value of AAMVA was so incredibly clear to me. And it didn't take me long at all to realize that AAMVA was my professional safe place. You befriended me, you shared with me your ideas, you made me a better administrator, and for that, I cannot say thank you enough. I am grateful for my loving and supportive family that has allowed me to serve as chair this year. In a normal situation, I would be introducing them to you at the international conference banquet with them all dressed up. But they're actually working from home and doing virtual schooling right now. Most certainly not ideal, but what I can say with all assuredness through all of this is that I am eternally grateful for the extra time that I've been able to spend with them during this pandemic. And I'm so grateful for my Texas team, many of which you saw in that video. Thank you to Dr. Tom Schindel for serving as our conference coordinator this year. He was certainly as disappointed as I was when we had to cancel the international conference here in Austin, but he moved quickly to unravel the activities that had originally been planned for you and spin up many of the things that you have seen in the virtual program that we're having today. I also want to thank my assistant, Claudia Liao, for making sure I'm talking to who I need to be talking to, when I need to be talking to them, and what I need to be talking to them about. She really has kept me organized throughout this last year, and I could not have done it without her incredible support. And I want to thank my deputy, Shelley Malott, for keeping things moving forward through some very challenging times. It is because of Shelley's constant and steady leadership that I've been able to serve as chair. Thank you very much, Shelley. And I'm grateful for a very strong AAMVA board that is engaged and cares and is thinking of you. The steady and thoughtful oversight of the board, coupled with the incredible talents, the professionalism, and the can-do attitude of the AAMVA staff, position this community so well. Thank you to the AAMVA staff. And you and your team have been the glue, really, to keep our membership connected through these uncertain times, and I am just so grateful. Mike, you come into your new role in strange times, my friend, but with an incredible network of people who are here to support you. And I know that support, along with your leadership, will only bring great things to come for AAMVA in the year ahead. So I'll finish this speech the way I accepted your trust in Omaha a year ago. The success of this association is dependent upon you and your engagement. I am so heartened to know that you have risen to the occasion. You know, you would think that the challenges we're experiencing would keep us apart, but you have strengthened this community by staying engaged and helping each other work through challenges. And for that, I thank you so very much. It has been a true honor to serve as your chair. Thank you.
You know, if we were on the stage together, I'd be handing you a tissue, Whitney. Thank you. That was, we really appreciate that. I think everyone felt the heartfelt nature and clarity of those remarks. So now, let me invite our new board members, those who were earlier elected into a new terms, and our officers to turn on their cameras. Terry Coombs of Illinois, Alberto Gonzalez, Idaho, Roger Grove, Alberta, Tori Jessup, North Carolina, Peter Lacey, Indiana, Charlie Norman, Ohio, Gabriel Robinson, District of Columbia, Chief Batiste, Washington, immediate past chair Whitney Brewster, you will not get far, thank you. Member at large Spencer Moore, Secretary Christina Boardman, Treasurer Rick Holcomb, Vice Chair Chrissy Neiser, and Chair of the Board Mike Dixon. So rather than the traditional repeat after me, which is challenging in a virtual environment, I will ask all of you to affirm the oath by saying in sort of a challenge question way, I do, after I finish. So I'll pose the challenge question, and I hope you'll say I do. Please raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear to uphold the bylaws and policies of the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, as well as the duties of the office which you are about to enter, so help you God?
I do.
I do.
I do.
Thank you all. It is such a pleasure and an honor to serve you. Congratulations to all of you. We now give you a break from the camera, except for Mike Dixon. Mike, congratulations To our audience, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone, I present to you the new chair of the AAMVA Board of Directors, Mike Dixon.
Thank you, Ann. Congratulations to Whitney and the AAMVA staff for the historic first virtual AAMVA International Conference membership meeting. Whitney, the U.S. and Canadian national anthem sung by you and your family made this membership meeting all the more special. Whitney and Ann, you have done a remarkable job adjusting AAMVA operations to protect its employees and continue to ensure the association accomplishes its important mission through this pandemic. As mentioned by many others, I don't think it's a stretch to say that 2020 will be a year remembered by everyone. While we are all living it now, in the years ahead, we will likely recall how dramatic the COVID-19 pandemic impacted our daily lives, as well as how it required all jurisdictions to creatively modify services for their customers while protecting their employees. Perhaps even through this challenge and the severe impact of the virus, the silver lining may be that so many of us have found unexpected opportunities. From moving branch-based transactions to online services, to understanding the flexibility we really can have to ensure government services can continue even when it's from a home office, a couch, or a bedroom. And there is widespread recognition that the time for more contactless and electronic transactions is now. Whether this means mobile driver's licenses, electronic titling, or the electronic exchange of driver data, we have been propelled into an environment where we must build and deploy 21st century solutions that leverage the most modern technology. Our industry has changed significantly over the past decade, even more so in the past several months, and we should expect more significant changes in the months and years ahead. AAMVA is blessed with a talented and dedicated board of directors and staff. It has been a great pleasure working with you all. In our association, we have outstanding members, administrators and law enforcement leaders from across the United States, its territories, and Canada, as well as our outstanding associate members. The history of AAMVA is filled with many dedicated and talented individuals who have made our association great and our nation's roadways safer. It is amazing what Mike Calvin and many others have accomplished. We owe them a great debt of gratitude. I am very humbled and honored to have the opportunity to serve as your chair. Whether it is online or in person, I look forward to meeting and working with each of you this year. And speaking of online or in person, while this meeting has been a great demonstration of the use of technology to allow us to be socially distanced, it is my sincere hope that this will be the first and last virtual membership meeting. God willing, let's hope we can all get together again in person in Denver next year from August 31st to September 2nd for our 2021 Annual International Conference. So for one last time, check your computer, mute your phones, and enjoy a PowerPoint production or a production from Julie Brooks of the Colorado DMV and Claire Jeffrey of AAMVA on what awaits you at the end of the Western Trail in the Mile High City next year. Howdy, I'm Mike Dixon, Senior Director of the Colorado Division of Motor Vehicle and Chair of the AAMVA International Board. I'm excited to welcome you to the 2021 AAMVA International Conference to be held here in Denver, Colorado from August 31st to September 2nd next year. Please join us. The annual International Conference is a great place to catch up with colleagues from across North America, make new connections, get the latest information on important motor vehicle administration and law enforcement issues, and hear from innovative leaders. We can't wait for you to see all that Denver has to offer while you are here for the conference. Denver may be called the Mile High City, but it's much more than an altitude that will take your breath away. Denver's western flair easily blends with modern elements that will make your visit a great experience. You will be steps away from Denver's world-class museums, exhibitions, and performing arts of the modern age, or you can explore the legacy of the Old West by visiting History Colorado Center, the American Museum of Western Art, the Black American West Museum, or the Buffalo Bill Grave and Museum atop beautiful Lookout Mountain. Nearby is the American Mountaineering Museum, the only museum in the United States dedicated to mountaineering history, iconic Red Rocks Amphitheater, and of course, Coors Brewery, the largest single-site brewery in the world. Get out and enjoy Colorado's fresh air by taking a stroll on the 16th Street Mall, a mile-long pedestrian-friendly outdoor mall filled with shops and restaurants, as well as an active nightlife when the sun goes down. In addition to great steaks and big game well known in the West, Denver boasts an eclectic selection of cuisine from around the world. And if you're feeling a little bit adventurous, try some fresh Rocky Mountain oysters. Huh? Not by the ocean? Before you saddle up and head back home, stop by the state capitol, where you can take your picture 1 mile above sea level to commemorate your visit to the Mile High City. I hope you're able to join us in Denver next year for the 2021 AAMVA International Conference. It'll be great to get everybody back together again. So I hope to see you there next year. At this time, I open the floor to new business. If any voting delegate has new business, please use the hand raise function and the AAMVA staff will acknowledge you.
Mike, no one has their hand raised.
Thank you, Diane. Appreciate that. Hearing none, I would like to thank you all for participating today. I would also like to thank again IDEMIA for sponsoring this membership meeting. At this time, we have reached the end of our planned business. Unless there is an objection from voting delegate, I suggest we move to adjournment.
So moved.
Awesome.
Second.
I know there's no hand raised for this. Hearing no objection, I declare the meeting adjourned by unanimous consent. Please stay healthy, engaged, and connected.